All right, so my name is Michael Camp Bentley. So you know me as JCap54. This is my name on the Splunk user groups. So if you're ever looking for me in the community, look for me as JCap54. You can at me on whatever Splunk website you're on, be it Splunkbase or community or Slack. All right, and today I want to present to you the developing ChatGPT. So who am I? This guy, right? Maybe you've seen this instead, right? But I won a Revolution Award back in 2018, I believe it was. Splunk Certified Consultant Developer. I do all things Splunk, total fanboy. It changed my life for the better. That's why I like to help other people learn to use it, because I think it'll change their life for the better. And it's kind of my way of giving it back and paying it forward, because it literally the course of my entire life by learning Splunk. Okay, I think it can do that for other people too, and I think it's important that other people get ahead of that curve and learn these things that can do that, be it Splunk or another tool. And whatever it is, if it's the hot stuff, you know, you almost need to be exploring it, if nothing else, right? And then if it sticks like Splunk, then you better learn it quick, because this is everywhere now. TCS gives courses to all their new beginners that come into the organization, like on customer service and tech support. They all get Splunk training now, right? So it's big, because TCS is huge. If you're not aware, we'll go to the next slide. I've been a member of Splunk Trust forever. That's why they give me the goofy hat. So can anyone tell me why you would integrate Splunk with ChatGPT? Any ideas in the room? Anybody?
Give away my data.
Give away your data. Number one reason right there. That's like 30 points on the score right there. All right, so give me the number 2. Machine learning. All right, tell me more about machine learning. I like it. I like it. Here you go. Good answer. Good answer. Again, that wasn't a bad answer either. Look, everybody wants to know what you're doing with your data. Here you go. All right. Press the next, please. Let's go. What I do with it is I clean my data. Okay, somebody spells Philadelphia wrong at lunch. They can't spell Georgia. They don't know how to spell address, whatever. Maybe it's their name. I don't know. But I need to make it the same in my database so I can do data science on it. And I need it to be not 20 different spellings of Bjorgen in UTF-8 or whatever. Right, so I think it's great for data scientists if you integrate Splunk with ChatGPT. Some of those mundane tasks, it's really what they say they spend 70% of their time on, is this whole data cleansing thing, right? And then you ask them to produce something and they quit and they go away, right? And you're like, well, hire a data scientist again? All right, let's go next. So I have another reason, enrichment. Okay, this is the simplest use case. You probably all thought about this one too. If you just want to go ask ChatGPT something, bring it back into Splunk, let Splunk tell you what to do with it, maybe give you advice if it's high or low, critical, maybe you should call somebody now. ChatGPT can maybe answer that question correctly most of the time, so enrichment. Let's go with the guess for the next one is assistance. Okay, so this is a common one, right? How do I SPL, right? And this is what everybody hates. Like, please don't do that, because it gives you a terrible response. But maybe you want to know what source type the data should be. It's pretty good at that. Maybe you want to extract fields and you need a regular expression to do that. It's pretty good at that. Maybe you want to write Java and connect to Splunk API and pull it out, and it's good at that. You know, like there's plenty of reasons why you might use it for assistance. So let's go on to the next slide. I have a process I follow when I develop these things, right? Of course, there's always only 3 steps. Sometimes there's 5. Don't believe anybody if there's 5 steps. Let me 3. All right. Step 1. We're going to create the app. Yep, that's easy. Everybody's done that. A base app, you know, I call it base app creation. You can do this with the add-on builder. You can do apps create new. You can do it command line if you're like me and you're a DOS guy and you want to make directories and stuff. So step 2 is Python command. All right, so assuming you want to do something in the Splunk search language, you'll need a Python command. Maybe you're doing a external lookup where you might need a Python command. Maybe you're extending the REST API, you'll need Python. You'll wire that up in commands.conf. Step 3 is coming. It's profit, right? Of course, there's no other steps. It's that easy. It's always that easy. You talk to the sales, right? It's that easy. Splunk, you create the app, you do the Python, and you profit. All right, moving on. We're going to create the base app. Some of you know this. I can't get it out of my head.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, so base app creation was step one. Let's move on. Let's start rocking through these. Create your app folder. Hit it. Create your app folder. Create your default folder. Put a bunch of files in there, bin folder, metadata folder, app server folder, right? Okay, that's what's in all of those. You're going to come up with your own name. You might even not put TA in there. You might have some organization thing you do that's specific to your company. But this is where you're going to find the various things I needed to make ChatGPT integration with Splunk. All right, and let's never forget the metadata folder because permissions are important. I see a lot of people forget about that. Moving on, actually look through all these files. It's quite tedious. Let's go. All right, app.conf. I think the most important thing here is the version, because if you don't get that right, you can't upload it to Splunkbase. Whether if you want it to be visible or not, what you want it to be called, and the setup. So that's where you're going to go to set up your app if you need one. And then the ID will be publicly known as. All right, so those are the most important to me, I think. There's other ones, but Splunkbase will let you know if you don't get it right. We'll keep, the bottom one, yeah, that was tricky. I couldn't fit it on the page, but reload passwords equals simple. Does anybody know what that's going to do? Okay. Super technical. I'm sorry, I'm a developer, right? I get real deep. It's going to stop from rebooting every time you add a password to my app, okay? Or telling you need to reboot. All right, it's just going to do the debug refresh. Does anybody know that one? Yep. Okay, it's basically going to do that, but just for passwords. Okay, and anything else that changes, it we want to restart. Let's go to the next slide. Commands.conf, real simple. The call out here is the name of your Python command, the version, of course, but pass auth equals true. Enable header equals true. What these do is this will send the data to your Python command, and it will actually pass the session key that you can use with Splunk to do other things inside of Splunk with your code. Okay. If you enable the header, you might get the data back like source type and the time of the event or whatever, but you won't actually get the session key. So you have to enable pass auth and enable header equals true. Next. All right, workflow action. This is one way we can use ChatGPT with Splunk. You want to right click on an event or do this little drop down thing, whatever they call this thing now. You click there, you get the option to edit tags. Ask ChatGPT what this field and value. Ask ChatGPT what this field is. Ask ChatGPT what weather is like in Philadelphia with this key value in consideration. Whatever you want to do, right? Because in my code or in my search, these are real simple workflow actions. In my search, I've just mapped those values through. And if you go look at the documentation for workflow actions, there's other special characters other than this $, app field value and whatnot. But it's real simple to do those. So I made multiple, right? And I just numbered them sequentially, 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever. All right, cool. So there's a way to do it with the events too, and it'll handle all the data in the event, but then you can't do this key value thing I'm trying to do where I said, tell me what the field is, what it means, tell me what this value means, or tell me what this field and this value mean, right? So I kind of made it flexible. In order to do that, I had to make it just do the field menu as a display location. Next one. All right, navigation. Nobody cares. That's your menu at the top. Go ahead. All right, setup dashboard. These are really cool, but basically you're building an HTML that has an input ID, and you're going to make note of that ID. And then the other things that you have to do is to load the JavaScript and CSS. We'll keep this page, right? It's a JavaScript page. It comes with the SDK. I'm just linking to it right here, okay? This is where my implementation of it, I modified some of the key values in there. You need to link to GitHub here. By the way, the slides, I'll have a link to the slides at the very end, and they're forever available to you. We've got commands.conf, we've got our app.conf, you've got What were the other steps? Does anybody remember? There were just 3. Profit? Okay, well, let's see what's next. I think there's another page or 2. You got to do style. People know style. You can't just put a button on the page that's this big, and you got to put your entire search string in it. But I'll do that later in an example. So let's move on. Most people hate it when you do that. We're going to do Python code. This is where it gets cool. All right, so Mr. Not Gonna Work Here No More says I can do this in 1 line of code, right? And I bet you can, right? And I can too. We love doing this to show off our talent. It's 1 line of code, and it happens to be an entire accounting program, right? It's just like ridiculous what people come up with. But, you know, that's not very extensible. It's not very portable. The guy behind you doesn't like that, right? They're like, what is this? What is this, man? So let's talk about command components, because there's more than just 1 line of code with your Python. All right, you may import the SDK. You may need third-party SDK or libraries, custom classes, global variables. Just breeze through it, right? Main code function, you're gonna do some stuff there. The next one, helper functions, right? So maybe you have a checkpoint in your app. Maybe you need to get the configuration file, which I do in the OpenAI app, because I got to get the passwords from it. So stick to this, real simple, right? Import 3 things. That's it. Anybody hear Python? Anybody write Python? And they're like just rolling over in their chair right now, like really mad at me. I'm not a traditional Python person. I taught myself Python out of the need to extend Splunk. And so I don't necessarily do things in the correct order or know a lot about it. I am a security practitioner, as is related to Python, and I know not to present in the browser to users and give to them the way, things like that. So I keep that in mind while I'm writing my code, but I'm certainly no code ninja, right? I didn't start my career with Python, for sure. All right, moving on. So one trick I wanted to show you is this is how I import the AI SDK. If you didn't put it before that sith path insert thing, it would not do it. And it's because it did not know the path to the OpenAI library. By doing this, I'm adding it into the system path as my script executes. It's a tricky way to do it. That's why I wanted to show it to you. Like, other stuff is normal. This is tricky. All right, moving on. Parsing user input. Okay, this is another trick I stole from somebody, right? Don't think I wrote this. This takes the key value pairs out of that header I was talking about and turns them into basically results to be used in the script. So it takes the arguments and uses regular expression to create key value pairs and put that into a Python dictionary we'll use later. Next one, please. Highly technical. I'm so sorry, everybody. We'll get the use cases in a minute. All right, so OpenAI, fast auth equals true. This is where I get the session key. What do I do with that session key? I send it back to my little helper function that's going to actually password. And I don't show that code here, but you can get it. It's on my GitHub. And we're going to do something, right? And we're going to send it to this OpenAI chat completion create thing, which is part of the OpenAI library. Again, nothing I wrote, but it is easy to plug and play that. A lot of documentation on it. Move on to the next one. And we profit. Yay, I told you. It's coming soon. Yay. Okay, so that was easy, right? 1, 2, 3. Now you know Python and how to make apps. All right, so let's talk about use cases. So we're going to skip this. Before we go to the next one, we'll hold right here and just talk about this one. This is the workflow actions. This is what everybody hates, right? So number 1 answer is ways to exfiltrate my data and give it to Microsoft, right? Okay, that's what we're going to do with it. But you don't have to, I guess, solution to that. You could put all sorts of, handlebars or training wheels on this prompt that you send the ChatGPT so that it comes back with exactly what you want and doesn't send sensitive data. So for example, you could do a macro before the command that always says, don't send a hostname field or fields minus, right? And then all your sensitive fields. And I would encourage you to do that. This is the example of the workflow action. I asked it what the key and value meant on that one field, which was the origin time, I believe, ORG time. and it came back with, hey, this is the timestamp, it's in these timestamps, it has this time zone, these milliseconds, like all this stuff that a new analyst in Splunk world may not know, right? So that's what I'm trying to do, is help somebody learn Splunk that doesn't know it. I don't know what org_time means the first time I see that in my IT career. I only know that if I'm looking at a specific log that I wrote myself, or that I trained on the app that wrote it, right? So a lot of these things in log world are, it could go either way, whether if that should be true or if it should be false sometimes with the firewall rules, right? You're like, well, did it really allow it, or was that a reverse negative non-allow? I don't know, and maybe ChatGPT can help us with that. All right, does anybody want to guess the next use case? I think we already talked about it, but I got more swag to give away. Take a stab at it. Anyone got a use case already that like an idea come up? I'm farming ideas. No ideas. Okay. All right, let's just move on. See, what do we get? The source type discovery. This is one I came up with, where I was talking about overloading the field, and people like that. But I put in a search there that's taking just the first 10 results out of source type equals in Splunk D log level equals error. Okay, so it's taking 10 errors, it's turning it into a multi-value field into one prompt, sending that to ChatGPT and asking it what source type this best fits. Thank you for the fan. You're right. Appreciate it. I really do. So this is a data onboarding use case. You're not sure what source type you want. I could give you a dashboard that asks ChatGPT what it is. And so, yeah, don't send your sensitive data through to that, but maybe have development data. Host names have been redacted and all the social security numbers don't exist because it's development data, right? It's just faulty data or fake data, right? And we can generate fake data with other tools and like parts within Splunk 2. There's an event generator and things like that. I'm gonna get crazy with it. But basically, this can help you. In this case, it thought the Splunk web access log should be source type Splunk web access. So it hit it nail on the head. All right, the next one, please. Error triaging. This is what a lot of people are terrified of, right? Your admin's gonna go and be like, what's this error mean? And then they're gonna go do the fix that ChatGPT tells them, which is horrifying. But maybe it could work, I don't know, it's a use case. Here it was pretty good. It figured out the exit code of this batch file was failing, and that it's probably a problem with the environment variables or something that didn't let it run. Pretty good explanation, but I can't remember what the actual problem is. I still don't have it work. I'm trying to make ChatGPT come up with something to tell me in a style of a character and make it do it at random throughout the day through PowerShell commandlets. So if I get that working, I'll let you know. Everybody will be interested to make it remind them to do laundry or something, right? So we'll see what happens. But I think you could use it for triaging so long as your errors don't have that host name, etc. So we'll put some filters on there before we send it for sure. Certainly no reason to do this instead of running over the Google, especially given the on Google. Copy from Stack Overflow is just as dangerous as GPT. The map command? Oh yeah, so anytime I want to pass something through to OpenAI command, I'm using the map command to do that. So I'm taking data from the pipeline and sending it through the map. Now that's one way to do it. That's just because of the way I generate the command, but I could have made a streaming command and it would have just read in the pipeline, did the thing. In fact, it probably would. I haven't even looked at that. Sometimes development's iterative. Yeah. Yeah, but it maybe could be better. Yeah, I'll take a look at that. But it was designed to take whatever's before it. I think the problem was when I wanted to do something with my data before I send it to the OpenAI command or something, I ended up having to use the map. So that's what everybody's doing right now. You map it through and you add some, the variables have the $ signs around them, like on dashboards. All right. So I did $ prompt and I made $ prompt. _raw was one event of that level error. And in fact, I was trying to troubleshoot this, so it was pretty cool. All right, next. Workflow actions I already showed you. This was just a zoom in of it so we could actually read it where it's actually doing the request time. So it told me the format of it. I think with a couple of more tweaks to the search or the prompt, you could have it give it to you in strf or strp time, the Splunk format, the $S, all right, the $Qs, all that fun stuff. Why not? I mean, it'll do just about anything I ask. I ask it nicely each time, so let's go to the next slide. All right, this was one that a user reported. So they have a weather station at the school, and the weather station is checking parts per million of all sorts of stuff. Then it goes and it asks ChatGPT if that's an acceptable level according to EPA standards, and it comes back with, you know, I'm an AI model, maybe you shouldn't listen to this, but I think it's kind of dangerous today. Or not, you know, you can choose, like, you don't always have to listen to the GPS. But in this case, the ChatGPT is fairly accurate and right on. You can further parse this response if you wanted to rip out the whole, I'm an AI model, please don't ask me these questions because they give you the right answer. With you could use like a rex command, you know, or an eval and like rebase eval, a couple other options of the eval I'm not thinking of, substring, stuff like that. But they use it and then they take this and they put it on a marquee at school. So the teachers know if it's safe to take the kids out or not, because otherwise they have to go read the weather report, find out if it's accurate, et cetera, and make their own interpretation. This takes that all out of their, it's no longer their problem, right? They just know if it's green or red or yellow, and they know the protocol according to that. So it's pretty cool. I thought that was neat. And what's the next slide we got? Yeah, that's where I'm at. So this is brand new stuff, right? I want to encourage you all to learn ChatGPT, as it has changed my life just like Splunk did. I have basically a worker I can abuse for $20 a month that will just do native all day long. My blog post to help me write the presentation, it helped me write the code, it helped me do all of this stuff. And so I'm living by it. You know, you're going to see when I release a press release, just better bet I wrote it with Splunk and ChatGPT, all right, just for fun, okay? And sometimes it doesn't give me the proper emojis, but I'll figure that out eventually. All right, I do need other ideas though, so I'm farming for ideas. Anything you got? Jason.
Tell users what to do.
Tell users what to do? So,
given a base search,
yeah,
suggest KPIs to me.
I like it.
Suggest which ones may be most relevant to whatever my use case is, as for what my use case is.
Yeah.
Tell me how often I should run the alert. Things like that.
This guy has some paper. He's got a pad. That's brilliant stuff. Yeah, I thought about that, and I went pretty deep with some very specific things. Like this one I got was the source type so far and some abstractions. But when I started asking it to write searches, and when I did use cases, it comes up with a really good security use cases. It will give you ideas on what to write for those searches, but the searches can tend to be dangerous. So I just recommend running this, what it tells you as advice through the, the BS filter. But I'm really hoping it'll do that stuff for us too, Jason. Yeah, I mean, I'd like it to tell me what other people are doing for the KPI. These are all the questions the executives ask me, like, oh, we want KPIs. It's like, great, what KPIs? Well, we want to know the health, right? Well, what health? Okay, so it comes down to ChatGPT. Tell me what KPI I can get out of this data. I think it would be brilliant and come with all sorts of stuff, such as averages and top and perk and all that fun stuff. So it's a good idea. Yes, catch me outside. Send me an email. Right, I'm looking for the real world scenarios. Your idea may be presented at Conf. I will be at .conf 2023 this year, presenting something about GPT and Splunk. A little bit different, but, kind of dusting off the old motor going right now. So let's see what's next and try and get you out of this slide. Oh, I have other apps. So it's hard to see, but yeah, there's a Hugging Face, which is also a large language model that you can use. You can give it things and say, like, what is the financial sentiment of this event? And then it can say, well, that's a positive news headline or it's a negative news headline. It can tell you that contains violence or it doesn't. By the way, ChatGPT can do that with some of its APIs, which are also in the app I've created. But I couldn't leave this one out because they actually have 176 billion parameters to 175 billion parameters at OpenAI. So you had to do that. But that was really cool because it's all open source and you find the data model that does what you need it to do and you send your data to it and you get things, like I said, maybe you could send it a news headline and it'll tell you if that's positive or negative for the underlying stock. As a financial use case, I'm not sure many people are doing that. Another app I have is the SSL certificate checker. You install and it automatically checks your certificates for expiration. And so it comes with a dashboard that'll tell you what's expiring in the next 30 days. It reads your configuration file, what certificates you have in use, and then it runs those through OpenSSL to find out when they expire, right? And then it puts that in the index. The Web Tools add-on gives you a curl command that you can use in Splunk. So maybe you don't want to send your data to ChatGPT, but you want to send it to Yahoo. You can do that with the curl command. And that's in the Web Tools add-on. Next slide, please. We are at the end. So thanks everybody for coming out and supporting us. We really appreciate having you here. I hope it wasn't too technical. I try not to harp on that next time I do a technical presentation. But thanks for being here. The next slide has on where you can get the slide deck. So it's tinyurl.com/chatgpt for Splunk. And picture however you want to do it. You can actually come into this slide. It's in Google Docs, so you'll have to log in with a Google account, I assume. And then you can even comment on it if you have questions, and I'll see those comments and I'll respond to them, believe it or not. And the things I used here was the SDK, the location on Splunkbase for the TA-OpenAI app we just built together in 3 steps. Thank you for your help. Is right there on Splunkbase. It's also right there on GitHub if you want the bleeding edge, the stuff that I'm working on overnight and over the weekend or whatever. And then my LinkedIn link is kind of long there. I should probably shorten that. But I'm a Splunk professional services consultant, if you didn't know that. I'm independent, so I do what I want to do, including leading these groups. What's next? That's it? No more? I thought there was one more. Bogus. All right, well, there we are. It's the end. Thank you, everybody, for...
A fun link.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.